Hello, folks.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Okay, well, it's 11 o'clock, so we might as well get started. There might be a couple of other people joining us along the way. My name's Eric Story, and I'm from the Edmonton Pride Seniors Group. So it's January 27. Thanks all for attending our weekly Aging with Pride discussion group for 2S LGBTQ seniors and allies. Thank you too for our partners at SAGE and the Pride Center of Edmonton. So before I introduce our speaker, I'd like to acknowledge that we are located on Treaty 6 territory and respect the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada, whose presence gives us opportunities to learn and continues to enrich our lives. So today, I appreciate if everybody could mute themselves so that we aren't distracted by any background noises. We'll have time for questions at the questions and discussion at the end of the session. So if you have any questions, please type them into the chat and we can get to them after the presentation, or you can ask them at that point. And now I'd like to introduce our speaker with great pleasure. Duncan Mills was born and raised in Onoway, Alberta. He has been president of the Edmonton Prime Timers chapter for over 10 years. Duncan has also been volunteering with several service clubs and volunteers organizations over the years. Duncan will be talking about Prime Timers. So Dunk, take it away. Maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself and about Prime Timers.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. And as everyone, I'm getting overwhelmed with all these faces filling up the screen here. Eric, you promised me 8 or 10 people, and we're already up to 16 here right now. So that's certainly encouraging. But thank you for inviting me. And Kim, thank you for facilitating this to have me along. I see several familiar faces on the screen already this morning. Fellow members of our Prime Timers Club, Charles, Lawrence, Michael, and of course yourself, Eric. I'm going to proceed on the basis that no one knows anything about Prime Timers, because if we start at ground zero and we build up from there, I think that's probably the safest way to go. So myself personally, I live here in Edmonton. I guess you could call me semi-retired. I worked for the Royal Bank for 20 years in a variety of small towns around Alberta in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I've been out of the banking business since 1996, and I do a couple of projects now in the golf business. I help the Alberta Golf Association publish their annual magazine, which satisfies some of my creative and writing urges and proofreading and editing and that kind of stuff. And I also help run a junior golf tour in Alberta during the summer with about 25 mostly one-day tournaments around Alberta for junior golfers 12 to 18 to help them get some experience in the golf world for tournament play. As Eric mentioned, I've been involved with the Edmonton Prime Timers as president for over 10 years now, mostly because no one else wants to do it. Believe me, I'm not on a power trip here to be the only president in Edmonton by any stretch, but I'm pleased to help out and to volunteer and lend whatever strengths that I can to the group. My late partner, Doug Gillette, and I joined Prime Timers probably about 15 years ago, I guess, Eric? We used to, when we joined the Prime Timers, they met at the old Unitarian Church. I'm sure Charles remembers that location as well, over on 126th Street, I think. But our meetings are now at the Unitarian Church on 119th Street. Anyway, Prime Timers Worldwide was founded in 1987 by a professor at Harvard by the name of Woody Baldwin. And Woody Baldwin, in the mid 80s, you got to remember that the world was a lot different then for gay men, and specifically aging gay men. And Woody lamented the fact that there really wasn't too many ways that older senior gay men, or when I say senior, say over age 40, didn't have too many ways to achieve social interaction with other men in our age bracket, other than bars or the bathhouses. This was pre-internet. There were no chat rooms. There was no Silver Daddies. There was no Facebook, Twitter, none of that. And Woody decided he would get together with some of his other gay friends in the Boston area and start Prime Timers. Well, the idea took hold quite quickly, and chapters soon followed in Atlanta and New York City and started to spread across North America. Word got out and that this was a great idea for a social club for men in our age bracket and their younger admirers, if that was the case, to have a way to get together in a social atmosphere. There had been some misconceptions over the years that Prime Timers was a dating service or was an outright sex club or something like that. I can assure you that nothing's further from the truth, sort of thing. It's a way for fellows in our age group to be able to have an opportunity to meet and have social interactions with other fellows in our age group and younger men that maybe admire older men. So that's how it got started. The Edmonton chapter was founded in the fall of 1992, October 1992. Michael, were you a charter member? I don't think so. I think you got in fairly early after that, did you not? I'm just going to buttonhole Michael for a second.
I wasn't a charter member. I was a little later.
A little bit later, okay. So,
Yeah.
but some of the fellows that you know, Bill Brumelo and Eric, help me out here. Our guys on the south side that what was Bill's partner's name? I'm for passing out here. Gord. Anyway, a handful of guys got the Edmonton chapter started in the fall of 1992. So we're coming up to close to our 30th anniversary in Edmonton. Now, when I first joined, we had probably close to 100 members. The meetings were very active, and there were lots of people coming out to, and like any social club organization, we're having struggles along with Rotary and Kinsman and all kinds of other service clubs and groups of, you know, retaining members, as well as a newer generation maybe just doesn't feel the need to join groups of any sort. But we have a pretty active group in Edmonton of about 30 fellows that we've been trying to struggle for the last couple of years to keep the momentum of the club going through COVID. We've done a mixture of Zoom meetings, and whenever AHS guidelines have been relaxed enough for us to feel that it's safe for us to meet in person, whether that's outdoors or whether we're being able to hold some meetings at the Unitarian Church in an indoor setting, we've done so. So it's been a struggle, there's no question about it, but you know, the fellows in this group now that are here, you know, Eric and myself and Charles, Michael, Lawrence, I think we've done a pretty good job in keeping the club going through the struggles that COVID has provided us. Why have Prime Timers? What's the purpose? What does it do? Personally, I liked it because I was never a bar fly to start with. I didn't necessarily want to go out to a gay bar, and when we had some gay bars in Edmonton, that was never my scene, so to speak, and whatnot. I welcomed the opportunity to be able to get together in a social atmosphere, to go out for dinners and have activities that we could have cookouts in the summer and go to museum tours or art galleries or sporting events or whatever the case may be. But just for the fact of being able to hang out with other gay men in our age bracket, that we shared commonalities other than just our sexual orientation, of course, but you know, that we could exchange ideas and thoughts and go to meetings. We've always tried to have an interesting guest speaker menu. We've had everybody at our meetings over the years, from Darren Hagen to the chief of police. I mean, that pretty much covers a pretty wide spectrum from drag queens to the cops sort of thing. So our speakers have over the years covered a wide variety of topics. We've had, God, Eric, who have we had? People like Murray Billett. Michael's spoken to our group many times about some of the issues and things that are going on in the city, in the gay community, and not just for the men, but you know, the entire LGBT community. We've often participated in the Pride Parade. That was I can still remember my first time driving the truck in the Pride Parade and how uplifting that was for me to have all those people out there cheering us on and stuff. So we try to be visible in the community as best we can. But as I say, it's a social platform. Prime Timers Worldwide is the parent organization. Our current president is from Dallas-Fort Worth. There's a board of directors that are from chapters across North America. It's primarily the US and Canada. We do have chapters overseas in Australia, a couple in England. There used to be one in Denmark. I'm not sure if it's still active, but it is primarily a US and Canada organization. In Canada alone, I know we have a chapter in Nanaimo. There's one in Victoria. Vancouver is a very active chapter. Calgary. Winnipeg did have a chapter. I believe they've folded. We have a big group in Toronto. So we're across Canada. Prime Timers Worldwide host a semi-annual convention. Our most recent one was, the last one I attended was 2 years ago in San Antonio, Texas, just before the onset of COVID. The next one is not been announced. It's our last one was back in October. Eric, again, help me out here. Where was our last international convention? We weren't able to get there.
I think it was going to be Chattanooga.
Chattanooga, Tennessee, hosted last fall. That's correct. Yeah. And the next one we have has been nailed down to between Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Tampa, St. Petersburg, apparently. But anyway, so that's been a good way for if we want to do some traveling. I've been to several international conventions over the years: Toronto, Palm Springs, Las Vegas. Had a great time, met people from all over North America, and lots of outings and great social events to get together and meet other people in our age group. Our regularly scheduled meetings are the second Sunday of every month at the Unitarian Church. We meet for fellowship starting around 2:30. Have a business meeting at 3 o'clock, hopefully a guest speaker. We're usually done by 4:30, and then several of us may choose to go out for a bite to eat. This is in normal circumstances. Right now, we've sort of pulled our horns in a little bit in terms of meeting in person. We also do a regular dining out every month. Eric is our dining out coordinator. We've had some wonderful meals at a variety of restaurants around the city over the years as a way for us to get together once a month and break bread and enjoy each other's fellowship. In my tenure as president, just in my time in the club, we've done tours of the art gallery, the museum, Reynolds Museum out in Wetaskiwin. We've gone to the zoo for the light show, art galleries. Sometimes there's just some of the guys get together for coffee. Our dining outs have been very popular, as I say, and we just try and do as many things as we can to provide opportunities for other senior gay men to get together socially. So that's basically about it as far as Prime Timers in a nutshell of what the organization is. As I say, we've had questions. Jan had a good question earlier. She said she wanted to know if I felt it was appropriate that women be involved in this meeting because women are not allowed in Prime Timers. And that's a valid point. I guess I don't know if anybody's ever tested the waters legally, Eric, if women could join Prime Timers, but you have to keep in mind what the purpose of the organization was to be when it was founded. It was not founded as a way for gay men to meet gay women. It was founded as an organization for gay men to meet other gay men. So that was, I guess, Woody Baldwin's philosophy 30 some odd years ago, 35 years ago. We've had many gay and straight women at our meetings over the years as guest speakers. We've had some of the lesbian women come to meetings and gone for dinner with us just to find out more about our organization. But yes, it is primarily a men's group. Certainly not that I don't think it was discriminatory in any way or anything like that. It's just what the nature of the club is. It's kind of, not anything philosophically opposed to having women involved in our meetings. It's just the nature of the group. So I see a question from Joan there. Sorry, Joan, I didn't see that, about an age group. Woody, it was founded for primarily gay men 40 and up because it was a seniors group. This was how the organization got founded, that it was not targeting younger men in their 20s and early 30s type of thing. Having said that, we've had, and Prime Timers as an organization has had a lot of younger, when I say younger, under 40 members who maybe had an older partner. The May-December thing, we've had in our particular chapter, we've had a few members in their 30s, but it's primarily been 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and even 80s kind of thing. Roy has a question as far as a membership fee. Yes, we didn't charge at all last year because we weren't hosting meetings. Our only costs were Zoom. So when we figured we weren't having to pay money to rent the facilities at the Unitarian Church, it wasn't really right that we charge a membership fee. We weren't providing any services that cost money, but our membership fees are $35 per person per year. And that basically goes to cover most of the costs of the rental at the church. Our dining out, we have when we go to a restaurant, everybody pays their own share. Sometimes 2 or 3 times a year, we'll have a potluck supper at the church when we've been allowed to use the kitchen, and everybody contributes and chips in as far as the food goes. Is the organization involved in fundraising? Not specifically, Roy. We have donated many times. A lot of times, if we have a speaker from an organization that's come along, we will provide them an honorarium. Maybe not be much, might be 50 or $100 sort of thing. But Eric, you can maybe help me on this one. I don't recall in my tenure in the last little while anyway, whether we've gone out and specifically had a bottle drive, so to speak, to go out and raise money for a particular cause.
No, I think, as Dunk said, the primary function of the group is social. And so, I mean, I know that I've gotten up and promoted different causes in the city. But basically to say, here's a cause, here's something that I think is worthwhile for the community. If you think it is, maybe you might want to consider donating or supporting it in some other way, but not, nothing that I would know about. So it's really, that's the concept. And again, I mean, for $35 or $40 a year annual, it's a very nominal fee. And it just, as Dunk said, it just goes to pay for, the rent. We have to rent the room at the Unitarian Church and some other miscellaneous expenses along the way, but it's certainly
Coffee
not
and soft drinks type of thing.
Yeah. Because when we do have, I mean, one of the great things, and we're really hoping to get back to in-person meetings. I was saying to Dunk, I love cooking. I love baking. Unfortunately, if I cook a cake right now, I have to eat it all. The great advantage of a potluck is I can bake something, take it, and say, there you go. I'll just take one piece or maybe 2. But those are some of the ideas. I think the concept of a social club is, this was founded in the mid-90s. It was a very different time, and it was hard to meet other men in a bar, non-bathhouse setting. It was just, that's the way the society has changed. I think one of my visions for this Aging with Pride, when we do start to be able to meet again in person, I would hope that this Aging with Pride group would sort of follow the same path as Prime Timers in terms of social activities, maybe some outings, that sort of thing. That is because I do think that it's, as we get older, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk too much here, although that's always happens. But as we get older, I mean, you know, the number of people who pass away every year, and our circle keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And what we do need to do is keep meeting new people and adding new people to our social network. And this is Prime Timers has done this for me. Aging with Pride, when we used to be able to have the drop-ins, that also worked very well for me. So I think of it as a very similar thing where we're going with Aging with Pride and where Prime Timers continues to go. Did I talk too much there, Duncan?
No, that's perfect. I had a chance to wet my whistle there. Roy had another question as well. Does the group have a website? We do, Roy. It's one of my shortfalls as president here. We've had a new webmaster on board with Prime Timers Worldwide, who's a real web geek, and he's rebuilding everything for us in a new platform. We don't have it up and running yet. That's one thing that's kind of slipped by the wayside during COVID, because we really haven't had any activities to promote, sort of thing. There is a Prime Time. If you Google Prime Timers Worldwide, it'll bring up the parent organization. They have a list of all the chapters and listing of activities and newsletters and that sort of thing. I communicate with the membership monthly with a newsletter, keeping everybody informed about what's going on as much as we can, given the limited amount of social activities that we've been able to have over the last year or so. But we have a Facebook page that's a members only Facebook page, but if anyone's interested in joining in that closed group, we kind of wanted to limit it to the people that we know would be in there, sort of thing, rather than have a bunch of hackers and fishers involved and stuff. So if you wanted access to our Facebook page, Roy, for example, I'm quite sure that we would be able to facilitate that. So yes, Michael.
Duncan, thanks for that. I wanted to mention a couple of things. One is that during the year, there are a couple of major events that Prime Time always sponsors as well. A major Christmas dinner with the gift exchange and some kind of carol singing. I won't go into that into detail because that sometimes kind of falls apart as to how well that singing is done. I think, as well as a couple other times in the year when there are different particular kinds of holiday sessions and that too. And I think that's, I think for many people who are a little older, holidays can be sometimes pretty lonely depending on your status and the rest. And having an event like that is, I think, something that many of us think of like Christmas and some of these holidays as time to get together. That I think is a significant activity that's been done. I'd also say, as you have mentioned, some of us have chatted or presented to the group on a number of occasions, usually advocating for something other, might be an election or who you should vote for, or different kinds of questionnaires that we might want you to fill out, et cetera, and that. And Prime Time has always been very receptive to that kind of discussion and kind of presentations as well. And I certainly have done many of those over the years, as you've mentioned. So usually is something to push, which leads me to, since you mentioned about newsletter, is that Aging and our group, Edmonton Pride Senior Group, now has a newsletter as well. And if you wish to have that newsletter, just in the chat box, say that you want our newsletter and we'll get you signed up, kind of thing. That so remember to do that. We only do a newsletter a couple times a year, and we've just done our first one. So if you haven't received one, then put your name in the chat box and say you want a newsletter. So that's my chance to push the next item that I would otherwise be talking to you about, Duncan. So I'll do it this way instead. Kind of thing that. So thanks for sending on it. I myself didn't know about how the organization first started back in Boston, but even here locally, I wasn't quite sure because I wasn't there at the very beginning. I couldn't quite remember who was involved.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, you mentioned about the social activities surrounding the holiday time. That's very important. Our Christmas party, I guess, has always been, our major highlight social event of the year when we've been able to have it. Back in December, the Unitarian Church we weren't going to be able to host it in their, have the use of the kitchen and the main room, plus the fact that they've restructured their rental fees. It would have ended up, I think, costing us, Eric, I think it was over $1,000, $1,200 or something like that, to have the main hall plus the kitchen available to us, and it just wasn't going to be practical for us to do it. We had a Christmas dinner, but some of us went to a restaurant, and that was not as ideal, obviously, because over the years we've had some tremendous Christmas parties with entertainment and singing and caroling and just a gift exchange. As you say, it's a great way for everybody to get together, because a lot of us don't have a lot of family around Christmas. Perhaps we're single and don't have a great deal of support system for family. Our October meeting, second Sunday of October, almost always falls on Thanksgiving. And we've always had a Thanksgiving potluck dinner where the club supplies a turkey and a ham, and everybody builds around that with the other side dishes and everything. And so we've had some very good holiday Thanksgiving dinners as well. We've always tried to have a potluck over the years in February, kind of a post-Christmas get out of the doldrums type of thing, and sometimes have had some Hawaiian themes and that sort of idea to help celebrate the middle of winter kind of thing. So try and keep it varied and interesting, and bring in speakers and just get together and be together with other like-minded men is, I guess, the main purpose of the organization. We're not out to cure cancer. It's, it doesn't mean to say we've got our heads stuck in the ground and we're not aware of issues in the community and some of the concerns that the LGBT community has as a whole. We're very supportive of all that. But
Duncan, I just want to stick in, and this is not to be stereotypical, but a potluck catered by a bunch of gay men. I got to tell you, there is always far too much food. It's always absolutely wonderful. And yeah, we usually have a couple of picnics in the summertime, again, potluck. And again, it's really the social aspect, and that's what we're counting on. That's what we really want Aging with Pride to also be creating this social network that you can count on, that you meet new people who have similar interests and who you can establish friendships with. That's what we feel is really important. And I think that's what we all need as we get older. Introduce, keep adding to our social circle and with people that we know and we like. Go ahead.
I just want to address a couple of items in the chat box here. JW, I guess, is that Jim? Anyway, it says, you look and sound like the guy who's on Whose Line Is It Anyway? It has meant it as a compliment. So thank you for that. I used to have a mustache. I had a mustache for the time I was about 18 years old up until my early 50s. And a lot of people thought I looked like Dr. Phil. So I'll certainly take that as a compliment. I look like the guy from Whose Line Is It Anyway? And Roy had a question. Can a person just drop in on one of the Sunday meetings? Absolutely. We welcome guests. What better way to see what we're doing and what we're all about than to just drop in or make yourself available to meet one of us to go for coffee or something like that. But Roy, if you want to get me your email address separately, if you don't necessarily want to put it up here on the thing, I can certainly put you on our mailing list to keep you informed about what we're going to be doing and when we're going to be getting back together with meetings. At this point, it looks like we're probably going to hold off again for February. We're going to let this Omicron thing hopefully start to go down the far side of the mountain. There's still a lot of strain and stress on hospitals. We don't want any of our members getting sick and ending up like that poor guy in Red Deer last week that didn't get treated at an emergency ward. We don't want to contribute to that palette. But I look for us to be back going again full speed for spring. Personally, myself and Eric, Michael, a lot of our members, Charles as well as Lawrence, we've got a lot of time and money and sweat equity invested in Prime Timers, and we're not going to let COVID derail that. There's a place for our organization. Yeah, maybe we don't have 100 members anymore, but if we have 25 or 30 and can grow from there and build on that and provide a platform for gay men in our age group and their friends to enjoy themselves socially, we're going to certainly do all we can to keep it going and make it as successful as we can. So Roy, I've got your email down there. I will write that down and we'll make sure you're informed about what's going on with our group. So thank you for that. Anybody else have any questions for me? I've been talking up a storm here for a half an hour and be more than willing to answer any other questions you have on the text box, or put your hand up and we can try and address any issues you might have. Eric, I found yes, Paul.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but we're privileged on this site to have two presidents. Both you and I are presidents of a Prime Timer chapter. I was at one time in Edmonton, and I was on the board of directors of Prime Timers Edmonton for about 3 or 4 years, I think, both myself and my late partner. So we're very familiar with the Edmonton chapter, and I like to stay in touch with Edmonton, and that's why I joined these Zoom calls.
Where are you located, Paul?
Nanaimo.
I recognized your face. I wasn't sure.
I'm president of the Nanaimo Prime
I
Timers.
thought so. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been on other Zoom meetings for the district and stuff.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Paul's got the Nanaimo chapter, just as an aside, is a real success story. You're the group that Don Gillette's involved with, correct?
Who?
Don Gillette.
Oh, yes. Yes.
My late partner's nephew was one of the founders of the Nanaimo group, correct? Was he instrumental in getting it going?
No, actually he wasn't. He came on after that.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Very active in your group though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm familiar with the Nanaimo group. They're going up great. I get their newsletters, and you guys are doing a great job out there with your social activities and stuff. How is it working there? Everybody seems to be okay with meeting in person and stuff, or?
Yeah, we don't have meetings like you do in Edmonton. That just didn't work for us. We meet socially in restaurants or social settings, outdoor settings when the weather's nice, and that's what keeps us active.
Okay.
We also have a very active website, which is available worldwide. And in fact, our latest newsletter was just posted on the website today.
Okay.
Good. Well,
Good.
Thank you. I knew I should know that face for sure. Yeah. Jim had a question. He says he's in the Cypress Hills area in Saskatoon. Is there Prime Timers in Regina or Saskatoon? I think Regina did have a chapter at one time, but I believe they folded it. To the best of my knowledge, Michael, maybe you've been around a while too. Has Saskatoon ever had a Prime Timers? I don't believe they have.
No, I don't think so. It's one of the people that I've had contact with there over the years has not ever mentioned who's active and things has never mentioned, and would be a member if there was one, kind of thing. So I don't think Saskatoon has ever had one.
I'll just further to that before I get to Ace. He had a question. Jim, there is a mechanism with Prime Timers worldwide that you can join as an individual person. If you're not anywhere near where there's a chapter, you can get into the worldwide network. And there is a very active Prime Timers worldwide Facebook page. They've got about, I think it's up to about 7,000 or 8,000 members right now. And I'm one of the moderators of that site, and there's people joining every day. So there are ways for individuals to kind of be involved still with the Prime Timers community as a whole. Ace, is there something I can help you with? You had a question?
Yes, I'm 61, but I have some friends that are like 40 and over, and I'm transgender, and there are some trans men who identify as gay. And also there are friends that I have who are cisgendered, like they're not transgender, but they identify as bisexual. Is that something the group is comfortable with or uncomfortable?
Well, you'd be welcome.
It
We've
would be
had,
me particularly because, you know, I'm bisexual, but I'm married.
yeah,
so
we've had married men as members, not many, but we have had some in the past. I know I can think of a couple that were members when I joined 20 years ago, kind of thing. One of our former presidents is transgender. He's since transitioned out, but we haven't seen him at meetings in a number of years. Eric, we'd welcome these individuals, absolutely, no question.
Also, is there a better way to advertise that this group is available? Because a lot of people just had no idea there was anything like this.
Well, that has been a shortfall of, I think, Prime Timers worldwide as a whole, that we haven't done a good enough job to let the community know about Prime Timers. What was that movie, Eric, a couple of years ago that Christopher Plummer played in, and he talked about Prime Timers? He was a widower in his 70s, and he came out to his family. Beginnings or something like that, or
Something
whatever.
like that, yeah.
But you're right,
yeah.
Ace, it's an ongoing issue. Can we certainly do a better job? Absolutely. It's a question, I guess, of manpower, budgets. I mean, we're not a for-profit organization, so it's hard for us to mount a huge marketing campaign as such. We have got some new pamphlets and brochures. We've been involved in having booths at the Pride Parade and things like that to do everything we can to, make people more aware of us. But it's something we can certainly do a better job of. I won't deny that.
Yeah, sometimes having been raised as women and then coming to who we are truly, which is a man, we sometimes need more of an emotional connection. We can't just go in, do the bars and the bathhouses and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable for a lot of trans men. So they want to meet somebody socially and develop it from there if it happens.
Well, if you let Eric or myself know of how we can stay in touch with you, we will certainly be more than willing to keep you informed about what we're doing and when we get going again with meetings and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
There's a comment in the chat room. It says in Saskatoon, throughout Saskatoon, there's a coffee hero group, an all-inclusive group. Yeah, there are other. Montreal, for example, does not have a Prime Timers group, but they have a very active group that's essentially the same thing. They're not under Prime Timers worldwide umbrella, but they're a senior gay men's group in Montreal. So there are other similar organizations to Prime Timers that don't specifically fall under the umbrella of Prime Timers worldwide.
I'd like to just add that, it's the sort of thing that it's Prime Timers is there when people want to find it, sort of thing. I can remember in the past we put up pamphlets in the bars and so on, and really it was trying to make the community aware of us. But a lot of what the 2SL LGBTQ community seems to focus in on is youth, and this is common in many areas, that the seniors are sort of forgotten about. And I think it's really important for that social connection. So in the past, even though we put information out, if somebody didn't feel that it was appropriate or necessary for them at that time, they didn't join in. But I think, you know, for myself, when I retired, I was invited to go to a Prime Timers meeting, and I look forward to those meetings ever since, particularly the potlucks, obviously.
You like to
So,
eat.
you know, that I think that those are the types of things that we need to look at, is who needs those social connections. Again, going from Prime Timers to Aging with Pride, I'm really hoping that when we can start meeting again, we can start to create those social connections as well. But there is the Prime Timers, the Edmonton Prime Timers Facebook page is, again, it's one of those that is only available to members, because in the past, and this is sort of a holdover, that there were quite a few members who didn't want anybody to publicly know that they were gay. And that still, to a certain extent, exists for some people. So the Prime Timers, the EPT, Edmonton Prime Timers, is a closed group. You need to be invited to join, and that's simply to provide the confidentiality. But that website, that Facebook group has been fairly quiet, because of course we've been quiet for the past 2 years. But that's another one that if you'd like to send your email to either myself or to Dunk, we'd be happy to send you an invitation to that Facebook group so that you can stay in touch.
Whoop, just a sec. I'm starting to write my email address on here, but I hit a space bar here. Whoop. Email.
While you're doing that, Dunk, I'll just mention again, if you want
Sure,
the newsletter from Edmonton Pride Senior Group, the address is on in the chat box now. And if you want the newsletter in there and with your name, then we'll make sure you get it.
Wonderful.
I'm just plugging as usual.
That's allowed.
Yeah.
So there's my address, my email address, curlerguy@gmail.com. Golf guy at Gmail was taken. So 25 years ago, when I got a Gmail, 20 years ago, I went with curler guy as my winter sport instead of my summer sport. So welcome to hear from anybody. You know, like I say, I don't have the confidentiality issues, so to speak, anymore. I'm out completely. I don't advertise the fact that I'm gay. I'm not wearing a banner on my forehead, my ample forehead, or anything like that. But
I wear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Anyways,
Duncan, do you get our newsletter as well?
I don't think I do, Michael.
But you want it, I'm sure.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I've been remiss on that. And
Yeah,
Roy, yes, I will. I'll look after that.
Yeah.
I've got your R. Jefferson email address there. We'll get you involved in that. Would love to have you.
Yeah.
So, folks, thank you very much, Dunk. If anybody has any other questions, please throw them in. But aside from that, I'd just like to say that after this, you'll receive a survey, a questionnaire. We're really interested in knowing what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong on these weekly Aging with Pride Zoom calls. So please, when you get that survey, please do respond to it. And just put in a plug that next week, our guest will be Lindy Pratch from the Edmonton Public Library, which does a great job of connecting people in the community and providing resources. So I'd encourage you to send an email to the Pride Center saying that you want to be signed up for either the next session or every session, and they'll just automatically send a link to you for every time. Let me think. Sign up for the Edmonton Pride Seniors Group newsletter. And let's just, hopefully as things progress, let's look at ways that we can start to connect in person a little bit more. And that's one of the goals of Aging with Pride. We started, it started as an in-person social meeting. We've gone to virtual in order to accommodate the times, but I'm really looking forward to the time that we can return back to in-person meetings. And that's not to disregard Prime Timers, which is I really enjoy those meetings as well. I'm just a social animal. What can I say?
Eric, I just want to say I wanted to thank your group for inviting me today. I've sat in on a few of your sessions now, and I think it certainly provides an important role in the LGBT community. Very pleased to have been provided this opportunity to talk about Prime Timers to the men and women in the group. The more knowledge there is out there in the community about who we are and what we do, if somebody's networking and has a likely candidate that would enjoy what we do socially, by all means, please let us know and we'll make sure we get that in person involved in our network.
Listen, if there are no other comments or questions, I guess we'll call it a day for today. Thank you all for attending. I really appreciate it, and hope that you'll join in on some of our sessions in the future.
Thanks again, everybody.
Thanks, Dunk.
Bye now.
Thank you very much, Duncan. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye now.